This game is heating up, folks. Frank squares up like a butcher block on defense. Audie with the fadeaway. She's on fire! Literally, that is. The net has been burned to a crisp.
We're back and stronger than ever. TPI Composites is bringing jobs back to Iowa, building the future of clean energy with the power of wind. Wind powers the world, and here in Iowa, it powers growth, jobs, innovation, and opportunity for generations to come. When we build here, we fuel something bigger, a cleaner future, a stronger workforce, a legacy that will last. TPI Composites. We're back, Iowa, powering the world.
Iowa Deer Classic, March 7th through the 9th, Iowa Event Center, Des Moines. Now, 3 levels of hunting and shooting gear, land management, outfitters, and more. Big buck and shed contests, seminars, celebrities, archery shoots, family shows. Get tickets, win prizes at iowadeerclassic.com.
Two guys, two Chris's, one network. Iowa Everywhere. It's time for Two Guys with Chris Williams and Chris Hassel. Presented by Fareway Meat and Grocery from the Channel Seed Studios. Where? Everywhere. Live and always on demand at Iowa Everywhere.
It is the 24th of February. Welcome to Two Guys, Chris and Chris, here on Iowa Everywhere. My name is Chris Williams, joined as always by Chris Hassel, who I think is wearing the exact same shirt he was wearing in that cardboard cutout.
I did not do this on purpose, but you're right. I am. The only difference is I'm not wearing pants right now.
You're just wearing shorts, or you're just nothing?
No, I'm not. I'm not bare bottom.
Just letting the old boys.
So I thought this was supposed to be life size.
Well, so I got.
If Keith Murphy is towering over me, it's not life size.
So I found out what happened here.
It's little person size.
Have you heard what happened?
No.
Downs was telling me this because I'm helping Downs unload his car prior to our big bash on Friday night, and like, yeah, this is really short. Apparently, because your arms were out, something about the printing was limited on the height because it would like tip over or something like that.
Okay.
Downs was explaining it to me, and I'm like, listen, okay, this is your thing. I'm sure you did the best you could, buddy. Thank you for your contributions.
It actually worked great because the photo booth, like, you would have been towering over people in the photo booth.
Van Winks, why is your hand over my sack?
Yeah, you were touching his penis. Were you trying to do that?
We got our friends at Game Day Men's Health showed up.
Ladies right there.
Nice.
You're all glared up in
Mr.
that picture.
Hassel, you have 0 tea.
You have no tea.
That's a great.
That looked like an amazing time. I had serious FOMO as I was sitting eating dinner in Richmond, Virginia, but it looked like it was a great time.
Awesome turnout. Thanks to everybody who came out and said hi. I mean, the place was completely packed. Like, you could barely walk around out there. Like, it was awesome.
Matt says he had way too much pizza at the party.
Oh, I met Matt.
Oh.
Great dude.
How was that Grimaldi's pizza?
Fantastic.
People were taking boxes of it to their table. It was good stuff.
It was really good. And then I want to give a shout out to, and I forgot the gentleman's name, but he was really nice. Him and his wife were on their anniversary, and they traveled.
That's my guy Dayton.
Yeah, Dayton.
and
That's it.
It's Dayton
I
and
knew it was
Abby.
the name of a mid-major college basketball program. Creighton, Dayton. Don't call Creighton a mid-major. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't call Dayton a mid-major.
Yeah, not
either.
anymore.
You've been there. You've seen that facility.
that place
they get 13,000 fans a night.
Yeah.
Dayton, I think, might be our biggest fan. He and his family have a group chat that they just talk about our show.
No kidding.
So, yes.
My wife yesterday.
Dayton's getting a shout out. That group chat is blowing up right now.
She was. We were eating dinner, and she was asking me like how the party went and all that. And she's like, I can't imagine like someone that was hosting a show that I listen to just says they're going to be at a bar and me being so excited that I'm going to show up and hang out with them. But it happened.
Yeah. It was completely full. Like, really cool. So thank you. And the Irish was an awesome host. The guest there, or the host did an awesome job with it. And I also want to thank Andy. You gave him a lot of shit on this. But he selflessly kind of just planned this whole thing. Him and Mackenzie helped him a lot, and just really appreciate their contributions to that. And how much can we talk about Don's situation prior?
Well,
I want to respect the man's privacy.
Well, I mean, we said he got food poisoning. Not going to name the establishment. It's a chain. It's not a local Des Moines.
A nice chain.
That poor son of a bitch.
It's a nice chain.
Yes. And he didn't eat anything crazy. Like he just had basically meat and potatoes and wine.
Here's the problem. So you put out this tweet that your dad was sick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it starts working its way around because everybody's coming up to me. That's my friend Matt, one of two people I know who wore an Ames shirt just to get their picture taken with Don. Because I think they want
Muscatine native Matt.
Oh, Matt's from Muscatine?
Yeah.
Nice.
It starts working its way around that Don's sick and not going to make it. Don's throwing up, and and then it turns into something bigger.
Well, hang on. All I put out there was it was food poisoning.
Well, it just, you know how things spread, right?
That's different than...
Well, the problem is Don walks in, and he won't shake anybody's hands. Because he's just like, I don't know what I got.
Oh, God. He did? Really? See, if that was me and I showed up, the first thing I would say is, it's fine. It's just food poisoning.
Yeah.
I'm not sick. It's nothing you can catch.
Well, everybody's kind of like, is that him? Is he going to throw up? Like, I wasn't, because I knew he had food poisoning. I gave him a big ass hug, and no, it was great to meet the old man. And that sucks because he came all the way and then he goes to one of the nicest restaurants in Des Moines and gets food like, what are the chances? He would have been better off just eating at some shithole, corner tap, and coming and drinking with us all night. But it was great to meet the old man.
I'm
Great
glad
guy.
he got in. He was, oh God, he called me up. Well, I'm sitting there eating dinner, and I looked down, and I knew he had been eating dinner as well and was ready to go to the Iowa Everywhere party very soon. And I looked down, and it's just a text message that says something to the effect of, Chris, give me a call, please. And I know that's not good. I mean, I don't know, like, Jesus, did he...
Call me now.
Did he fall and he's in the hospital now?
I would have dropped the party and gone to the hospital with your old man. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know that. You're a good kid. So I call him up, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I barely made it back to the hotel. I got food poisoning. And he's like, I don't know what to do. Everybody's expecting me to be there. And I can't.
But he walked in, and honestly, like, I fancy it was like back in the day, when like Jesus would enter these towns and people would just gather. I'm doing this Bible study right now, so it's in my mind. And like people would just gather around Jesus, just wanting to get a look at him. Oh, is that him? Is that him? Can he heal me? That's what it was like when Don walked into the Irish.
Our guy Blake Hornstein had a pick.
Blake's
Oh, yeah.
Blake came all the way over from Iowa City
Nice guy.
area.
Good.
Wow.
We had a great crowd.
Oh, my dad says he's narrowed it down to he had lobster bisque. Okay, I take that back. I thought all he had was meat and potatoes and wine, but
That's a Seinfeld episode, the lobster bisque, right?
it was crab bisque in Seinfeld.
The bisque. I just remember it was the bisque.
Yeah. The Muscatine super spreader, says Johnny. Yeah, he was fine. He was totally fine. He got it out of his system, and the rest of the, he drank water at the party. I saw every picture. He had a bottled water in his hand. And then by the next day, totally fine. Drove home. No big deal. I think it's because he never leaves home. He's in this little bubble, this Bettendorf bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely
he's a bubble
leaves
boy.
home. Because when he comes down here, something always happens. Always.
Yeah, he got the COVID that one time.
Last time he got COVID. The time before that, the plane hurt his back so bad he was laid up for the first 3 days of the trip. He's not in any shape to travel anymore because he's just in the Bettendorf bubble. And so whenever he gets out of that, it's a mess.
Last thing, before we get into all the games this weekend, we do need to address this because overthinking is at noon today with Mackenzie and Scott. And by the way, people really loving that show. I had so many people come up to me like I was the one to get credit for it. How much they love that show. And I'm like, no, go talk to them. But no, I'm serious. Like, people really were appreciating that show. But allegedly, Sipker was like a total dick to your dad?
According to my dad, yes. But
this is really concerning to me because we have a very family culture at Iowa everywhere. Everybody, and if my dad walked into a room, I would expect everybody to kiss his feet, kind of like what happened with Don. But I don't like hearing that one of our people was a total asshole to your father. Really bothers me. Have we got to the bottom of this?
Well, I think it all kind of stemmed from my dad refusing to shake his hand. Like, Scott went up to him. This is because I got both sides. I called Scott to get the other side of the story. I was so
you were really,
upset.
really upset about this Saturday night.
And he said, well, I went up to him and I went up to introduce myself, say hi, and he wouldn't shake my hand. So that kind of got us off on the wrong foot. My dad says Scott just could not care less that my dad was there.
He snubbed him.
And basically snubbed him, yes. And all he said was, hi. My dad was like, hi, I'm Chris's dad, Don. Well, he didn't shake his hand, but he didn't hold his hand out. But he said all Scott said was hi, and that was it. And according to my dad, all he cared about all night was that Kenzo girl. I said, do you know who Kenzo is? Because Scott was actually there with his girlfriend, and Kenzo was actually there with her husband.
I think he may have gotten
you might have got your wires crossed, Dad. But it's still that was the one thing I was most interested in with my dad showing up was because he always talks shit about. He talks shit about Bloom, and he talks shit about Spopker. He calls him Specter, Spopker. He claims that back in 2017, me and my dad and Andy.
There's the two women right there.
Dave Zavolinsky.
They have similar hairstyles.
We all went out to Sam and Gabe's it was when they had the Sam and Gabe's downtown. There were two of them. And he claims that Sipker crashed our dinner. And
well, this doesn't sound too surprising.
But no one else remembers this. I asked Andy. No one remember. I don't remember this. He says that Scott's car broke down and Andy had to leave us and drive him home, and the night was ruined. And ever since then, he's just hated Sipker because he ruined my dad's one night in Des Moines that year. But no one has any recollection of this. Nobody.
Van Winkle's telling us that he once got food poisoning from Sam and Gabe's.
What?
Yes.
Sam and Gabe's was my favorite Des Moines.
They're closed down, right? We're not
Yeah.
hurting like a local business.
No.
Okay.
It was good food. Just just like Don. Never know.
Poor sons of bitches. Well, welcome to the show. Let's start with of course, thanking our friends at Fareway Meat and Groceries. Don should have just gone to Fareway and gotten like a Lunchable.
A Lunchable?
Well, you know,
take a Lunchable to the party?
Yeah, and just eat that. Really, really easy to just scarf something down and then eating that Grimaldi's pizza. You wouldn't have had a problem. I do want to start with the Drake Northern Iowa game. That was dramatic.
Got to start with that.
Dramatic basketball game in Cedar Falls on Sunday. A lot of controversy towards the end. Drake wins 64-58 in what was just a fantastic display of basketball.
In overtime, in front of a packed house. It was the largest crowd for a Northern Iowa game in 10 years.
UNI fans were awesome. You can just feel that rivalry beaming through your TV. And then Ben Jacobson. You don't see him. You rarely see Jake give any emotion. Right? Like he's kind of the same guy after you beat Kansas to go to the Sweet 16 as he is after a tough loss. It's like Jake's just kind of that guy.
Yep.
Which I think most people love about him at this point because he's just been so consistent over the years. He was hot after the game.
Well, rightfully so, because I thought the officiating was really bad on both sides because they were
kind of the theme of the weekend, by the way.
Everything, yeah. I know Iowa State had a controversial call. I know Iowa
women did.
That was another horrible call we'll get to. But I thought the game was called way too tight, especially late in regulation and in overtime. They were calling everything. And then, of course, everybody's in the bonus and double bonus, and so it's a free throw parade. But what Ben Jacobson was really upset about was a double foul that was called that fouled out Northern Iowa's best player, Payton Anderson. And it was a play that, come on, I mean, maybe you call it in the first 5 minutes of a game and it's both players' first foul, maybe, but probably not even then. It was a bad call and a horrible time to call it. Van Winks has the video right here. Northern Iowa's on offense. Jacobson was saying that the Drake defender had kind of been doing that, was kind of all over him like that on previous possessions. And
soft.
And all Anderson is doing is just getting the Drake defender's arm off of him. He's just kind of, because he's being draped, and they call a double foul, and that was it. So after the game, Ben Jacobson, I mean, he really didn't hold much back. And just for some context here, you might hear him reference some journalism majors. I guess there was like a journalism class that was attending the post-game press conference. So Van Winks has the clip of Jacobson really pulling no punches here.
Courtesy of Mark Woodley, KWWL.
Well, class, you're going to get to hear me say something that I don't say very often. It might be the worst call I've seen in my 19 years as a head coach. I think it is. And class, since you're new and you're not in here very often, you would be able to. I don't talk about this very much, do I? You've covered us because of the impact it had on the game. Like, look, there were 7 or 8 calls that Ben's going to feel like were the wrong call, and there's 7 or 8 of them that I feel like were the wrong call, but they didn't decide the game. We've got our best player in 2 plays in a row. 23 bumps him first, and he doesn't do anything the possession before that. And he come down, and 23 bumps him first again, and he waits to call a double foul. I think it's the worst call I've seen in my 19 years.
That is such a big statement.
Yes. He didn't cuss, which as we know,
he does not like to swear.
True OGs know, he has me blocked on Twitter because apparently I cussed, and he saw it and he blocked me. And he
clearly never followed me.
He won't unblock me.
He once kicked me out of one of his practices. So
So this game, Van Wink, you had the video. That was with about 3.5 minutes to go in overtime, correct? When that happened.
Yeah, I think like 3:20 in overtime. Yeah, pretty early.
The game was tied at 57. Anderson again, I'm really good player for Northern Iowa. He had 21 points in this game. Really a great offensive threat. And so that happens, and it's basically over because they don't. Now, look, they still hung in there and had a chance at the end, but that was a game-defining call, and I feel bad that it had to come down to this, but I just don't get these officials, especially in these late-game situations, when you know that a foul is going to either send somebody to the line or foul somebody out of the game. Just let it go. Like, there was no reason to call that foul there. None. It wasn't like they were shoving each other.
What's the foul at the end of regulation seemed controversial. I didn't think it was.
That was definitely.
Okay, so that was just Northern Iowa fans who were just being tribal.
Yeah.
Like he
ran into him.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, you can't jump and then run into the shooter. That was the right call, and made 2 of 3, sent it to overtime.
What a brutal spot for who went to the line there for Drake at that point? Was it Sturts? No, it wasn't Sturts.
I think it was Muscari.
Yeah, and he was
Mitch Muscari.
What was he, like an 89% free throw shooter?
Missed
the first. I thought when he missed the first, there was no way he was going to make the next 2. No way.
Brutal spot for that kid to go into the line.
And they weren't perfect. Like, he caught rim on both of them.
Oh my God!
But got them both in to send it to overtime, and Drake clinches at least a share of the Missouri Valley Championship and Ben McCollum's first season. And there was a tweet going around social media last night that I retweeted. It's incredible. It's from College Basketball Report, and it goes back 10-plus years in McCollum's coaching career where he has either been first solo in the conference or tied for first. This season, last season, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, and 2014. Every single year, Ben McCollum has won a conference championship.
Keep
the definition of a winner.
Out your mouth. Did you listen to my interview with
Yes,
Brian
I'm almost through all of it. I thought that was a really insightful conversation you had with Brian Harden and Drake's NIL director.
Really different side of things that we just don't talk about on this show, or I don't feel like it's much media attention at all, is how the hell these mid-major programs are living in that space, and really good stuff. If you guys haven't, I know Fridays it's not the best day to put out a podcast, so if you want to go back and you do not have to be a Drake fan, I don't think, to find this interesting. If you like college sports and you're interested in the business of it, again, it was Ryan Boatman, the director of the Drake Collective, and Drake's athletic director, Brian Harden, sat down with me on the CW pod Friday morning.
The part that I found interesting with it, C-Dub, was so McCollum interviewed for the job when DeVries got it, right? So that's what he told
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that, and it was cool to hear that.
Oh, yeah, McCollum has wanted that Drake job for many a year.
Well, and that he
he turned down other opportunities waiting for Drake.
Yeah, and it was cool that he would kind of reach out to Harden and say, like, hey, what should I be asking? That's cool that they kept that relationship. And I think that tells you a lot about Brian Harden, the kind of guy that he is, and
he's great.
Relationships that he builds, and he got his guy, and it's paying off.
Yeah, he's a rock star. I mean, if you look at the optics of, like, you just bring this guy out of D2. Now, granted, he's a D2 legend, right? Like, this isn't just some random. Everybody in basketball knew who Ben McCollum was. It wasn't, but the fact that Darren, who, really, I think Darren gets a lot of credit for he should for just building the Drake program into what it is. right? Like just the cool factor, the fact that people actually want to go and watch their games. Like it was just not that way before he got there. He leaves, and like that you don't drop off that much, right? Like hardly at all. You lose your whole team. You lose your best player, the coach's son. Like in this era, like McCollum deserves so much credit for that, and so does Jacobson too. Like they were left for dead in November. We weren't even focusing on Northern Iowa, and if you're Drake, you damn well don't want to see that team in St. Louis next week.
It's important to get the 1 seed in the Valley tournament because you don't want to have to face a Northern Iowa or a Bradley in the semis. You want to be on the other side. Like there's clearly those 3 teams are the best in the Valley right now, and you want no part of having to beat both of them to get into the tournament. And I'm still holding out hope that if Drake runs the table, gets to the Valley championship game, that they would still get an at-large bid even if they lose that championship game, or maybe a heartbreaker in the semis. But I'm not very confident. Like
I loved Harden's take on, because we talked about that, and he points out that a lot of these teams who will get into these bubble situations will be like 1-9 or 1-8 against quad 1 games and stuff. And what is Drake, 3-0 now? I believe yesterday would have been a quad 1 for Drake. I'm not 100% sure on that, but like these other teams have had so many opportunities.
Yesterday was a quad 2. They are
Okay.
They only technically have one quad 1 win against Vanderbilt because
Kansas State dropped out.
Kansas State is a dumpster fire again. Kansas State dropped to 81st in the net, so which is also
like
bad
Kansas
for Iowa State because that's now again a quad 3 loss, and now you don't have a quad 1 opportunity at the end of the year most likely.
But BYU,
yeah,
BYU, I'm projecting will have won 6 in a row when they come to Ames a week from tomorrow. That game is going to be really big all of a sudden because it will also likely decide the final double bye in the Big 12 tournament.
Exactly. BYU's coming.
Yep. All right, we will get to Iowa State. You got anything else on UNI, Drake? I think we covered that pretty good.
No, I think that yesterday, though, reminded a lot of Northern Iowa fans that, man, they could have it really good if their fans showed up like that, if the students supported them like that on a more regular basis. Fantastic mid-major arena. Like that, you really couldn't have built a better one. If you fill the place up, or at least come close, you have a great home court advantage, and it changes everything. Like that's what Bradley does it. Bradley's got great home support, and I firmly believe that's one of the main reasons why they've been able to have as much success as they have, is that they have that community buy-in in Peoria, and Northern Iowa just has not had that for whatever reason over the last 10 years or so.
I think our friends at Freedom Tire, Quentin and his crew, hung out with us on Friday night at the party. It was great hanging out with him just a little bit. He was telling me that one of our listeners came in and got a quote for some tires. Clearly this guy is shopping around, and then he walked out and started taking selfies in front of the Freedom Tire sign.
Really?
Probably.
So did he not even need tires? He just wanted an excuse to go and get a picture in front of the Freedom Tire sign to show his friends?
I don't know. But he thought it was
I bet he
funny.
sent the picture to his local priest.
Probably. Or he had a family group chat where they discussed the show.
Freedom, freedom. Tire.
Also, our friends at Game Day Men's Health, they had a hell of a time. They had their whole crew there. Just absolutely a rock star group of people. Girl Nicole was there. Lindsay, main man Trey. We had a great time with them. Don't know who won their jersey yet. I got to get the information on that. But they were giving away a signed, autographed and framed jersey. So that was really cool. It was right by the photo booth at the party. Thank you to those awesome sponsors of ours who couldn't do what we do without our sponsors, guys. Like providing all this, it takes it's a whole ecosystem to do this local media thing, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Iowa State goes to Houston. The game is not what we thought it would be. We had built it as this, top 10 matchup. Iowa State gets to show what they finally are, healthy again. No Curtis Jones, no Keyshawn Gilbert. You're down 31 points per game. You're down your best assist guy, one of your best rebounders. And for most of the game, it looks like that. Although, usually, Chris, we talk about this in other sports. Like, usually when a guy is out, like when there's a big, important injury or a coach gets fired, there's usually a spirited rally. And I did feel like we would get that from Iowa State. I thought Iowa State would limit possessions. I thought they would go back to the rock fight, Otzel-style ball that we've seen in previous years. And for the most part, they did. And in the second half, Milan Momcilovic figures it out. Plays a lot of iso ball in the second half. Our guy Nate Heisey looks like a solid Big 12 player. Taman Lipsey leading the way. One of the most spirited Iowa State games I can remember. Now they lose. Clearly they lose the game. But to come back, they were down 15. They damn near tie it up. One of the worst calls. I'm going to steal Ben Jacobson's line. I've been doing this 20 years. I'm a big one-upper here. Worst call I've ever seen, that cylinder call. I still don't understand how you go to the monitor and change the call to that. That's what I don't understand. If they call it live, it's like, okay, whatever. Listen, there was like 10 minutes left after that. A lot of things could have happened, but like it completely changed it. It was like a 6-point swing. I was really proud of Iowa State. I thought it was a great effort by them, and hopefully, if the comp I gave, I saw this morning that Fran Fraschilla threw the same thing out, so it makes me feel like my take's not stupid. It reminded me of the TCU game last year when Taman's out, Keyshawn and Kurt have to step up and take their game to a new level. I saw Heisey and Momcilovic do that on Saturday.
That's a game that's not going to hurt Iowa State in the metrics. I think that if we're being honest and we're using the eye test, they might have even helped themselves a little bit.
Lunardi bumped them up.
So I think that they're in good shape to get a 2 seed. But what I'm more worried about now is just getting time together as a whole against good competition, because we've only really seen it against quad 3 opponents so far when Momcilovic has returned from injury. And now, how concerning is the Gilbert thing?
I don't think that much. The read I got on it, and I do not know everything, and clearly there's gamesmanship here, and they want to keep certain things a secret. I felt like if Kurt would have played, because Kurt was sick. I don't know what the sickness is, flu, influenza, all that stuff.
Must have ate at the same restaurant my dad did.
Everybody's sick right now. So, look at Illinois in that situation. Like, Iowa State's lucky it's just one guy. A lot of these schools it's running through all these players. I got the opinion I had going into the game was that if Kurt would have played, Keyshawn could have played. Like, this isn't like, oh, he's got a torn meniscus, he's out X amount. Like, it's more of he needs rest right now and try and get him as close to 100% for the March run. So I almost like you're down one guy, may as well be down 2, and just and it really couldn't have worked out better, minus winning the game. But you have to be able to carry that to another game. It'll be a lot hard if they're down those 2 guys, and I don't know if they will be. I would guess at least one of them's back.
For what, the Oklahoma State game?
Yeah, I don't know that, but that'll be harder to get up for that game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know the opponent's not nearly as good, but there's going to be 5,000 people in that arena on a Tuesday night. You're going to be a 20-point favorite.
Yeah.
That'll be really tough, like, from a culture standpoint, to just rally at that point. You noted, you're exactly right. They've lost 4 of 5 quad 1 games, but they've never been healthy is the thing.
And that goes to my last point. Like,
they're 20-1 this season at full strength. Now, a lot of those are those shit non-conference games that you have to consider, but they do have good opportunities coming up. That's what we love.
Arizona and BYU at home, great. Yes, those are those are the two quad one opportunities that they're going to have the rest of the way.
Got to win those. That's huge.
Yeah, you do. You got to win them
2 seed
to try to nail down that 2 seed. And to nail down the double bye in the Big 12 tournament, because BYU wins that, and all of a sudden they pass you, and you might be having to play on day 2 instead of day 3 and start in the second round instead of the quarterfinals. And I do think it's starting to look more important for Iowa State to come together as a team in that Big 12 tournament, because you're running out of time here.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is it's less about like the resume, but more about the momentum.
It's more about it's been a while since we've seen this team fully healthy beating a really good team. It's you go to their quad 1 wins. I mean, shit. Was it the Texas Tech game? Is that the last one where you guys were healthy and won a quad 1 game? Because the Kansas game, Momchilevich was out, lost West Virginia. Arizona State game was the last win against
UCF.
the quad 1 team. UCF is quad 2 though.
The road game at UCF's quad 2 now?
Yeah,
okay.
UCF's.
It was quad 1 at the time.
Yeah, UCF 78.
Okay, it was quad 1 at the time.
Arizona State, I don't know if they're going to hang on to quad 1 status on that game, because they're free falling right now too. They've lost 5 or 6 straight games.
They just beat West Virginia. Or who did they beat this weekend? Arizona State beat.
Arizona State's the team that went in and beat Kansas State, right? So
Kansas State, yeah.
They had lost 6 in a row or something like that since then. So that'll help keep Arizona State there. But that's the only, since that Kansas game, that's the only quad 1 win Iowa State has. And so I want to see this team come together against top competition before the NCAA tournament. Well, I don't want to see them going in there with just these. All you have is 2 big opportunities left, and they're both at home. And is everybody going to be healthy by then? I hope so.
I hope.
That's next weekend? What day is the
Saturday is Arizona, and then the following Tuesday is BYU. I don't think this knee deal is this I think it's just one of those deals where he just needs some time off, and it's just a rest situation.
Mm-hmm. I hope so.
But they're obviously not openly talking about it, because coaches, even if they did, they would just lie to us. It wouldn't even matter what they say.
When you look at it from a seeding standpoint, a lot of the teams around you lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Wisconsin loss was huge.
Massive. If you want to go to Milwaukee, that was massive.
Yeah, it really was. So I think things, other than not winning that game, which I don't know if you win that game if you're 100% healthy either, I think things kind of went in the right direction for Iowa State as far as the seed line this weekend.
Momchilevich in that 10 minutes, though, is a totally different level we've ever seen from him. Usually when he scored for Iowa State, it's just been, the fadeaways, the three-point shot. He was playing iso ball. He was posting up. And he only was 4 of 14. So you look at his stat line. If you just looked at the stat line, you're not going to think he had a very good game. He didn't. He was 0 of his first 9 or whatever it was, but he figured it out and kind of took that game over for a 5-minute stretch.
Kind of out of necessity. I mean, you had to have something.
Now you got to bottle it up and be able to do it again, though. That's the thing. Doing it once is one thing. A lot of people can be one of the guys. Can you go out and be the man, especially when those two are back and your role goes back to – we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest thing is that this Heisey thing appears to be pretty consistent now. He's strung 4 or 5 really good games together, which is massive.
Yep.
Speaking of Saturday, man, I'm not going to be there on Saturday night. I'm going down to this Colin Murphy fight.
That's this Saturday?
Yeah. I am.
What is this? What?
It's massive. It's completely sold out. It's pay-per-view. Everybody can watch it.
Who's he? So it's Murphy against, is that Waynu?
Yeah, I'm confident Iowa State gets off the deck, and a few things I've been more confident about than Colin's going to kick this guy's ass.
Why would you think that?
I've seen this guy. I've seen how Colin.
Isn't this guy way bigger than Keith's
Yeah,
kid?
it don't matter. I'm about heart.
This is really going to happen? Keith's going to allow this to happen?
Yeah, Saturday night. Me and Kelderman are going down.
I cannot. It blows my mind that Keith will allow his son to basically go into a lion's den, look death in the face, just
Looking
for
death in the face? What are you talking
content
about?
purposes. He's just doing this for content. This is like when he told
Colin?
me in 2009, I was getting ready to go on a Jamaican vacation. It was Sunday. We were leaving. My wife and I were leaving for an all-inclusive resort in Jamaica Monday morning. And Keith told me, you cannot leave here until you do something memorable for Sound Off. And I was like, what? Like what? I just want to go home. I need to pack, and we're leaving in the morning for a week. You have to do something memorable. Do something memorable. So it ends up, I'm down in the basement, like looking around at things. There's all these old ceiling tiles down there, and I decide to grab the ceiling tiles and block a doorway with the ceiling tiles and make it seem like it's a wall. And I strip down to my underwear. I put on a motorcycle helmet, and we had the Heisman Trophy in the building at the time. And so I was wearing my underwear. I had the Heisman Trophy in the foreground. Yeah, I posed as the Heisman. Chris Shipley remembers it. The Heisman moment. I posed like that with a football, and I took off running, and I busted through the wall of old ceiling tiles, and
I remember this.
I had immediate pain all over my body because the ceiling tiles were made of fiberglass, and all of these little fiberglass crystals penetrated my skin all over my back, shoulders, chest, because I was basically naked. God knows if there's asbestos in there, but I had to do it because Keith doesn't care. Keith does not care about the well-being of me, people that work for him, or his own son, apparently. And my first few days were ruined. I was in so much pain on that flight, and then going to Jamaica and then getting into the salt water.
You're such a little bitch.
I had fiberglass inside my body in every single hole, like hair hole of my body.
So you think Keith is just sacrificing his son here for content?
There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind.
I've seen Colin train, and my friends at Game Day Men's Health have been giving him the he's not getting tea because that would be dangerous, but whatchamacallit, it's like vitamins.
How could you be on board
stuff
with this?
Because I think it's great to challenge yourself, and I'm really proud of Colin. I remember Colin as a little boy, and now he's this hulking monster who's worked his
He's
ass
not
off
bigger than the guy he's fighting.
It doesn't
the guy
matter.
he's fighting is bigger than he is.
It doesn't matter. It's about your heart.
Colin
and it's
has
about
never
your
been
grit.
in a fight in
Look,
his
have you ever
life.
seen Taman Lipsy play ball? He ain't the biggest guy out there, but he's got more heart. He's got more grit. That's what Colin has compared to this guy. When I was down there, I saw this guy out drinking at the bar while Colin's sipping on water next to us. Colin has his eye on the prize.
Well, I think it's extremely. I mean, how I feel about Keith. I mean, I think it's borderline.
I would put the line at
but
minus
I think it's
450.
extremely irresponsible of you to encourage Keith to do this.
I'm not encouraging him to do anything. I'm supporting Colin and Keith. I had
You're
the line
supporting
at minus 450. Colin just knocks this guy out.
There's no chance.
I've seen him train.
You've seen him train. Have you seen him in a fight? Kid he's never been touched in his life. What if he has a glass chin?
He doesn't.
I think that you are aiding and abetting borderline child abuse.
I'm going to be so nervous pre-fight. Like, I'm just going to be in the back with my Game Day Men's Health syringes, just ingesting testosterone into my body, doing push-ups.
Ingesting or
injecting?
Injecting.
Yeah, ingesting would be a different thing.
I don't know, man. I don't approve of this at all. What?
You are.
How am I the responsible one here?
You're not. You're so soft. Just in every take that you have. It's like, find the softest take possible. Hassel's gonna have it.
I don't think it's soft. That I don't want this poor kid who's never been in a fight.
He's been sparring. He's been training for this for like months.
That's not a fight. Like this dude, this other guy, who knows what his life story is? All I know is he's bigger, stronger, more of a reach.
Have you ever seen Rocky IV?
Is that the one with Drago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who came out on top?
Rocky.
Yep.
It's a movie. That's not real life. This is real life. And it might be real death.
The other aspect of this is I need to be there for Keith if this turns sideways.
That's true. You and Kelderman are going to be accompanying Keith to the hospital as they go and try and glue his son back together. I think we don't need to talk about the Iowa men. They got to win against Washington. They're right on the edge of the Big Ten tournament. Let's get to the Iowa women's game yesterday. Did you watch that?
I didn't. I'm not even going to get into what I was doing yesterday afternoon. I did read about it, and I saw the end.
What were you doing?
I was at a play.
Oh, is this that?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
We have to talk about it. Hang on.
No.
Wait a second.
I was at a play with my daughter, who her best friend...
We're not allowed to talk about it?
No. Her best friend was in a play, and I went to it, and it was lovely. The kids did a phenomenal job. They did a fantastic job. That's where we're going to leave that conversation.
Damn it. I really want to get into it.
It was a beautiful play. I love kids doing theater is a great thing. Put it that way. The theater. We watched Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, kids, you do theater, you end up like Scott Sipker.
Or me. I did theater too. So yeah, I was doing that. Come back, and I wanted to watch the end of the Drake Northern Iowa game.
Mm-hmm.
Watched the second half of that. Wanted to watch the NASCAR race. Had to do my show with Bloom, so I did not get to watch the Iowa.
Okay,
game.
well,
so tell me about it.
Another great crowd. You had number 3 UCLA coming to Carver. Lauren Betts, one of the biggest stars in the game, one of the best players in the game. And Iowa, again, they went toe-to-toe. Shit, they probably should have won the game. They're up at halftime. I think they were up double digits at one point in this game. And UCLA comes back. It's down to the wire, and you want to talk about a bad call.
Theme of the weekend, right?
It's a tie game, final 10 seconds. And I don't know that I've ever seen a wider screen than UCLA sets. I mean, you could not, you would have to do the splits almost to set a wider screen than UCLA did. And Lucy Olson trips over the leg of Betts, who was setting this screen. I mean, she's got legs for days to begin with, and then she is, I mean, it's like twice it's almost a wingspan that she's out. You can't do that. Your legs cannot be, when you set a screen in college basketball, you cannot put your legs out as a tripping hazard. That is an offensive foul. Lucy Olson trips over her legs, and they call a foul on Olson because when she tripped, she then fell into the player with the ball.
Can we talk about Nate Heisey getting his head ripped off?
This call was worse. I think this call was worse. Did you see it?
The Heisey cylinder call was the worst call in the history of college basketball.
I don't know. This was as clear as can be. It's a really easy call for the official to make because if you see somebody setting up on a screen and their legs are basically doing the splits and somebody trips over that is an offensive foul. Iowa should have gotten the ball back. Instead, UCLA goes to the line, makes a couple of free throws, and Iowa airballs a shot at the buzzer and loses that game.
Did you see the end of the BYU-Arizona game?
Oh, God, yeah.
The officiating, they had a horrible weekend in college basketball. It is bad right now.
That was highway robbery.
That damn Tony Padilla. I don't like singling them out. They have a hard job. This guy,
was he the one that made the call in the BYU game?
Yes.
It was back-to-back horrible calls in that game that cost Arizona.
And he did that. He had another bad game last week.
I don't like to get on officials like that because I think, one, they're doing the best they can. Two, it usually evens out throughout the course of a game.
Correct.
But there are certain calls that will totally change a game, and Ben Jacobson referenced one. Iowa UCLA women's game had one. Iowa State game had one, and the Arizona BYU game had a couple at the end.
I've been thinking about this. Jeff in Texas, he says officiating seems worse at every level. Is that true or recency bias, or is it just that we have every angle of every play and
that doesn't help them?
Yeah, like their job. I do in their defense. It's harder than ever to be a ref. Like it's not like going to the local high school and where there's not replay all the time, right? Like it used to be like, I saw this.
The travel schedules that these guys have.
Yeah.
I mean, they are doing a game, getting right on a plane, flying to the next place, could be time zones away, and doing a game the very next day. I mean, sometimes these guys are doing 5 games a week. It's too much.
Eric thinks that they might all have food poisoning.
Also, did you see the Iowa Oklahoma State wrestling duel last night?
I saw some highlights and stuff on Twitter. It looked crazy.
Yeah, Ferrari had a big win for Iowa, and Iowa ended up winning the meet. It was 2 versus 3 in the country. But I mean, the problem is that it was a great moment. Yes, Iowa has great fans. Yes, but you're so far behind Penn State that I don't know. I feel like it's unreachable. It's almost like if you were a really good women's basketball team when UConn was dominating. It's like, but it was pretty cool to see. I mean, God, you go Carver yesterday.
Jake Bryn said it last week.
Huge day.
The most Iowa State shit ever is having Gable, Iowa State guy, go to Iowa, rattle off however many national titles, and then losing Sanderson to Penn State to rattle off however many national titles. It's the most Iowa State shit of all time. Kind of like winning your only New Year's 6 BCS bowl game during the COVID year when nobody can go.
Yeah, the fake season.
It's like not a fake season.
It was
you had a better culture, Chris. You had a better culture that year. It's not
playing
fake.
In stadiums with 5% capacity. Speaking of stadiums, I could not have been more impressed with everything about the VCU basketball program.
At Commonwealth, they do a great job down there. That's a hell of a program.
The game was sold out, and they sell out pretty much every game there. It's a perfect size stadium, 7,000. The place was a hornet's nest. George Mason had won 11 in a row. It was just like the Drake Northern Iowa game. It was a battle for first place. I have never called a game in a better atmosphere than that. I'm not sure it's even close. That place was so loud. They have one of the best bands in the country and often are rated the number one band in the country. And that adds so much to the atmosphere. But it wasn't
the number one band in the country?
Yes.
Who the hell does those rankings?
I don't know. Banddigest.com.
I'm telling you, man. Better than Iowa State's band.
Oh, God. Iowa State's band. Are you kidding me? There is not one person
band is
in the Iowa State band that could do any job in the VCU band.
Wow. Okay.
Not one person.
Okay. Really?
I'm telling you, it's
different. Have you seen our woodwinds?
It's different, man. You know that. You start going south a little bit, bands are different.
Who was the Kennesaw State, that band I fell in love with? You don't want to go to war. The Owls.
So it wasn't just the game and the team. Like the team I fell in love with them as well because, I mean, they can go on a run in March if they make it.
I remember when I called their game last year how long every position was. Are they still long? Like, I watched your game. You did a great job, by the way. They were so good in the last, 10 minutes.
They're a lot like Iowa State to me in that they're tenacious. Iowa State, Houston, that sort of thing. Just they have a good – they score. I mean, they score 79 points a game, but they also have the best defense in that conference and one of the top defenses in the country. And they can do it all, and they just – anytime a ball was loose, just diving all over the deck and turning – turnovers into points instantly. It was so much fun. But what I was most blown away with was the facilities. So they've got the Siegel Center, which is their great arena. Right across the street, a state-of-the-art facility that, I've been to the Iowa State facility that was built around the same time, and it's not close. It is not close. VCU's facilities are so much better. They have a men's side and a women's side that are identical. So the women have it just as good. And I know Iowa State has the women in that facility as well. But everything is in there.
Rank? I don't even – I've seen
Iowa's has changed since I've been there.
Okay, so I've never been in there.
But then – so it's right across the street from the stadium. And then all the players live right next to that. So everything is there. Whereas at Iowa State, the practice facility is way away from the arena, and then you live in a totally different spot from that, and it's not even as VCU has better facilities than Iowa State. Like that, it's not even close.
Well, and that's also you just think about stuff like that. If Iowa makes a change, the conversation is just so much different than it was 10, 15 years about what's a good job. When it comes to
VCU is a really good job.
There's a lot of people who would rather have that job, make a little less money, and still be like we've always talked about. Like Dayton's a really good. Creighton's one of the top 5 jobs in the country right now. You have a professional arena. You have basically like a pro fan base. Mm-hmm. People just go there and hang out. You have all the NIL money to yourself. It's just interesting to get your
VCU has quite a bit more NIL money for their men's basketball team than Iowa does,
which is shocking.
Quite a bit more.
It's just shocking.
Yeah, it's more on the level of maybe even more than Iowa State. That's and that's what's so wrong about the way we look at this tournament is that VCU might have to win their conference tournament to get in because the Atlantic 10 is looked at as a mid-major conference, and it's everything that's wrong really about college basketball. Trying to get these a team like in the Big Ten, a team that finishes 12th, trying to get them into the tournament instead of a team that wins the A-10 regular season and is legit and is a better team. I mean, I don't give a shit what conference you're in, or nobody's going to play these. Nobody will play these guys. So what can you do? But you cannot tell me that this VCU team, I mean, shit, they'd finish top. I think they'd finish top 5 in the Big Ten this year.
Shout out to TPI Composites in Newton. They are reopening their production facility, and they are hiring for several positions, including production associates, HR, maintenance, accounting, quality management, and more. Search TPI Composites on LinkedIn or simply visit tpicomposites.com and click on career opportunities. All right, let's wrap things up in bigger, better, bolder.
Bigger, better, bolder. Built by Kelderman Manufacturing.
I'll start. My first broadcast mentor passed away late last week. His name was Lee Hughes. Guy's an absolute legend. Man, the photos.
Which one is he in this picture?
He's the guy in the middle with the great hair. And that's Chuck Morris and Don Hanson beside him. These guys were all my bosses, my first job out of college. Legendary broadcasters in Western Iowa. We don't have a lot of media over there, so KMA Radio, where I worked for 3 years, is kind of what like WHO was back in the day, but it still is because there's just nobody else covering the Western Iowa side of the state. But Lee Hughes, one of the former Sportscaster of the Year, like one of the great legacy media broadcasters of the last 50 years. Everybody knows him. And I guarantee, like, you ask a guy like Murph, and like that, he was a legend back in the day. And he hired me for my first job out of college. I listened to him as a kid. He was like my hero growing up. So he passed away at 71, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Lee, man. That guy's a freaking legend. Love you, man. We'll miss him.
Nicely done.
What about you?
I'm going way off the board here. I sent in my triple B last night, and in the group text, you guys both said, who? Person? All right. Yeah, I'm not a big tennis guy, but Mira Andreeva, I think it's probably pronounced Andreeva. Mira Andreeva, 17 years old, wins a big tennis tournament, and is now in the top 10 in the world. Youngest player to reach the top 10 in almost 2 decades. Story gets better. She's so young that she doesn't have a bank account, so it has to go into her dad's account. And so afterwards, she's like, I hope my dad can at least buy me something with that and doesn't spend it all himself. It goes on his credit card. All questions to him. I just hope he gives me some of that money so I can get chips and a Coke. And in this interview that she did, she wrapped it up by saying, last but not least, I would like to thank me. I know what I've been dealing with. I want to thank me for always believing in me. I just thought it was a really, I don't know, fresh take. Young, so young.
Let me ask you, can I just, why are you giving her flowers and shitting all over Colin Murphy for believing in himself going into this big fight on Saturday night?
Well, I'm not shitting on Colin Murphy. I'm shitting on Keith Murphy for encouraging his son to do that.
Because I think it's great, the self-confidence that this young woman has, what she's doing.
She's also not putting her face in the way of a giant fist.
I truly believe, because I love combat sports, you know this. I think Colin, if he can get past this guy on Saturday night, could be the next Jake Paul. better looking.
Wait, so you think that this is like the start of Colin's career?
It could be.
As a boxer?
And I want to say I was there when it began.
And if that's the case, this is even worse than I thought. Like, I thought this was just some one-off fight, and this would be it. You're telling me he's going to go down this road. He's going to end up slurring his words by the time he's 30. Do you have any idea how dangerous boxing is? I don't think you do. I think you're so naive. You think this is a video game. You think, oh, you can learn all this stuff by sparring and not drinking alcohol and just putting in the work. No. Until you get punched in the face.
I checked with him when we were down there last. He had not been masturbating.
What?
And he has not been with women. Yeah, boxers, you're not supposed to do that. Do you know how much testosterone is built up in that young man right now? You think his opponent's been withholding like that?
Are you serious about this?
Yes.
That he told you this?
I pulled him aside and I talked to him about it. I'm basically his promoter here. Got him his sponsorship. Kelderman sponsored him. Game Day Men's Health.
And you think the fact that he's not masturbating is going to help him in
Absolutely.
that fight?
His knees are going to be strong. What about this other guy?
I don't think this fight lasts more than one round. He's in over his britches. I just hope that I hope that he gets hit and he realizes he made a big mistake and he just goes down.
He's not. He's the main event, dude.
Just takes a dive.
It's the main event.
The last thing we want
the last thing we want
Colin
is a quitter.
To think he can win this fight and try to earn respect and
I hope
stay in there and take these punches.
Aiden, will you guys pull this audio? I got to send this to Colin to see that Uncle Chris is doubting him.
What? Say that again?
We got to send this video to Colin of you doubting him. I'm trying to build him up even more. Look at this video.
That's not him. That's not him. That's who he's fighting.
That's him right there. Look at that son of a bitch.
That's the look
the
of
guy
a
he's
man
fighting.
who hasn't ejaculated in 7 months. Van Winks, do you have a triple B?
I do.
Niang.
George Niang. You see what
What's
he
he
did
doing?
last night?
Is he taunting the fans there?
Is he
Main man
talking
George
shit?
Niang dropped 27 points.
Dude, he's flourishing down there.
Like
I
felt bad when he got traded from Cleveland. I was like, oh man, first place to like a middling team that's scrapping to get to the playoffs. He's had like 3 of his best games with them.
Really?
He's shooting the hell out of the ball. He's
Well,
had
his roles increased. He's playing like 30 minutes a game
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, he had 27 last night.
I will say I opened up my Twitter this morning, and I'm not a big NBA guy, so I don't get a lot of it on my feed. But on my For You page, it was a post from somebody that said, George Niang could not be a bigger douchebag, and it was a video of him like mocking some opponent.
He's a dog, man.
Best.
He will talk shit to anybody and everybody. He's the all-time best.
Love that guy.
I do
Glad
too.
to see him playing more minutes too. Did you see that stat that was floating around a few weeks ago about like he's the most winningest player in the NBA right now?
What?
He's
Yeah.
like the new Robert Ory.
Like he's
He's going
been
to
on
need
the
a few
team with-
rings to get to that level, but
like the most
All right.
winningest active player in the NBA.
I got to get to a meeting. Love you guys. This was a good show. Hassel will schedule the party so you can attend next time.
thank you. I'm glad it went well, other than my dad's food poisoning. And my dad and Scott, the rivalry reaching new levels.
You still have a few days to book a flight to Arizona if you want to come and join me.
I'm not going to witness a young man going down a drain just for his dad's own selfish reasons.
I really hope Williams just goes all full Paul Heyman. My client, Colin Murphy, will not lose this fight.
For Chris Hassel, for Matt Van Winkle, my name is Chris Williams. Aiden Wyatt helped us today. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. We've got a great new episode of Overthinking at noon. Murph and Andy, 1 o'clock today on Iowa Everywhere.